Hi, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about traditional publishing versus self-publishing. So, in case you're on the fence about either, I just wanted to give you a few pointers as to what each one of those two terms means, what is my personal preference at the moment, what I'm doing right now, and hopefully help you make a decision about which route you would like to take. So, what does traditional publishing means? So, traditionally publishing your book, that means finding an agent that is, consequently going to find a publisher for you, and then you will have a book deal. You will sign a book deal, and that publisher will publish your book, and they will distribute it physically. We're all talking about things that are happening physically. So and then self-publishing means that basically you do everything yourself. You can do that online. So for example, you can do, obviously one of the biggest distributors is Amazon Kindle. So KNDP, I think it was the name of their program, or KNP. Oh my god. Okay, so anyway, you can just upload your book to Amazon and just have people buy it, and that's it. Or you can go through there are these hybrid companies, so to say, that can help you format the book, print it. They can help you with these sort of things, but then you will be responsible for the whole marketing and all of those things. So that is very much the brief description of what traditional versus self-publishing means. Why would someone prefer one versus the other? Okay, I will preface this by saying, because I have a bias, right now I have chosen the traditional route of publishing my book. So right now I'm in the process of querying agents, because I already I finished my manuscript. I've edited 100 times probably. I think it's enough for the time being, because it will undergo so many more changes in case I ever get signed, in case that ever happens. So why I chose that particular route is because, you have to look at it, I guess, in two separate ways, I suppose. So the traditional publishing route is it's harder. Let's put it like that. It's so much harder. The barrier to entry is really high. There are all of these gatekeepers. You have like, for example, you cannot just go and send your manuscript to publishers. I mean, you can maybe to some smaller publishers, but at the end of the day, it's just for almost all of the publishers, you need an agent. So first you need to have the agent, then the agent is going to start the whole sales process of trying to sell your book, which can take a lot of time. I mean, finding an agent, as far as I know, it takes about a year, sometimes more. Finding a publisher takes another year. So in case you want to go for that quick buck, so to speak, maybe that's not the best option for you. However, why I chose that particular route was because I'm interested in becoming I think it's called like a career novelist or something like that. So in other words, I would prefer to make all of my money, like basically, make all of my whole living off of writing. And as I'm saying this, I'm now realizing that maybe self-publishing is not the worst option in the world. But yeah, I mean, when I was making my decision back in the day, that was my logic. I just wanted to be, I knew that, the editors that are going to come and help me are going to be, I know for a fact that they will be professionals, because if you're on your own and you just pay someone, to edit your book, you don't necessarily, there are no guarantees, right? You don't have, like, you would need to do your own research. For me at least, it seemed like a much more time-consuming endeavor. So I was thinking, okay, if I find an agent, they will take care, they will sell the book. I don't have to do that. Then the publisher is going to be responsible for the editing. Obviously I will have to do edits, but I'll be working with an editor to do that. And I'll know that I'll be working with a professional who will have my best interest at heart, and the book's best interest at heart, so that it can be the most sellable it can be. Because at the end of the day, it's a business. We need to realize that. However, there is a very big caveat in this, because nowadays publishers are not that interested in editing. If you send them something that needs a lot of edits, most probably they're just going to toss it in the bin, so to say, and that's it. And honestly, I don't know why, where that came. I was listening to a few podcasts about this. The answer that I got was that editors were doing so many other things, but at the end of the day, they're editors. So what else are they doing? I don't know. I'm not an insider, as you can see. So I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, because the way that I imagined the whole process was that I would write my book, then I would be working with an editor, and we would be going back and forth on edits that I would like, that he or she would like me to do on the book, and then it will be this two-way process. However, it turns out that's not exactly the case. Editors don't really edit, if that makes sense. So you're on your own, basically. Even if you sign with a reputable publisher, apparently. That's what I've gathered so far from, other insiders, like from other people who've been in the industry for a while. So, yeah. In general, as I said, so the process of traditional publishing, the entry is really high, like the barrier for entry is really high. When you get an agent, so right now I'm in the process of querying agents, and let me tell you, it is tedious, it is boring, it is, honestly, it's annoying. Probably I shouldn't be saying this, but I know it's part of it, and I'm sure that in another year, probably, when I find an agent, things will be awesome, and this will all be just a story to laugh about. However, right now it's really annoying, and it's not so much the rejection part of it, because I've gotten so many rejections so far, which is great. I did get one, that wasn't that bad. I did have some feedback, which was really nice, because honestly, after some time you get the feeling that agents are not really reading your things. The other day I sent a query letter, and then less than an hour later I got the rejection. And I get it, when you're an agent, you probably just need to read a couple of sentences to get a feeling, whether this particular project is for you or not. But also, it kind of feels like, no one really cares. Let's put it like that, which is fine. It's completely okay. At the end of the day, it is a business, so it is what it is. But it's just a little frustrating, and it can be discouraging, especially if you, how should I say, if you're maybe more sensitive, maybe more on the sensitive side, right? You maybe would feel really bad if you get the rejection, because I don't know, for me, I realize it's a business, nothing personal. I actually, the one person who sent me some particular feedback, I have the screenshot and it's staying there, so I'm seeing it. I already have even plans on what to do, because just the feedback that I received was, let's put it like that, it was a bit odd, at least for me. It looked a bit odd based on the 5 pages that I sent as a sample. But so going back to the process, it's really, it's very long-winded, because each agent has their own criteria, their own requirements, and of course, if you don't follow the criteria, most probably, for sure, like, let's put it at 99% of the time, your query will just be tossed out because you didn't follow, the set example. And so basically you need to go through each of the agents, read about them, you need to read their guidelines, for submission, but you also need to read the agency guidelines for submissions because they might be different, which can be very confusing. So, and I don't really know which ones to follow. I usually try to follow at least what the agent wrote when it contradicts the one, the submission guidelines from the agency. I don't know if that's good or not. In case you do know, please let me know as well. Leave me a comment. But yeah, it's very long. It's a very long-winded process, and it's very tedious. It's very old school as well. I mean, 99.9% of agencies don't accept physical copies anymore, which is, email, yay, and query manager, yay, step in the right direction. But yeah, it's still a very time-consuming process, and I've been doing this already for 3-4 months. I've not been as diligent as I could have been. I've not spent, maybe as much time as I would have liked to. However, it's a marathon, so at the end of the day, I cannot do this every single day. There are other things happening. But slow and steady wins the race. I hope. I really hope. So yeah, it's a very long process, and when eventually, hopefully, I find an agent, what's going to happen is that so their commission on average, well, not on average, that's just the industry standard, is 15%. So they do have a vested interest in you getting a bigger book deal. So for example, the bigger the book deal, the more money they get and they make. So of course they would like to, get the best book deal possible. But yeah, so it's 15% if somebody wants fees for reading your reading your query letter, or if somebody wants more than 15%. I would just steer clear of those people. Nothing personal. It's just I suppose they're not the best people to work with. So yeah, so when that happens, yes, the agent would sell your book, then you would get your contract. And the thing about this is that it's how should I say, you're not really going to be making all that much money. They will pay, the publishers will pay for two things. They will pay for the rights of your book, and they will pay for an advance, which is the estimated amount of money that the book is expected to make. So for example, if they pay you, let's say $100,000, sorry, I got a little bit distracted, but yeah, in case they pay you, let's say $100,000 for that, you will not receive any royalties until the book reaches $100,000, and from then on, you will be receiving more money. You'll be receiving your royalties. So yeah, so this is basically kind of, the amount of money that the publisher would pay to you is based on the faith that they have in your book succeeding. So that's how that goes. And then yeah, then they're responsible for distributing the book, which can be really good. But let's face it, at least in the US, in Europe, there are more bookstores still available. However, in the US, you have, what do you have? You have Barnes and Noble. And I think some of the locations are closing. Like the other day we went to this Barnes and Noble and everything was 50% off. I'm assuming, it's closing, because why else would everything be 50% off? Maybe I could be wrong, of course, but that's just the impression that I got. And half of the store was empty completely. So they're not really getting any new books. But anyway, and then you have books, I don't know, in places like Target or whatever, some other shops. So it's not exactly, most people are just ordering online because it's cheaper. Why wouldn't you order online? So yeah, so distribution, so this is one thing that publishers are taking care of. But the biggest thing they should be taking care of is marketing. However, as I found out, it's also not so cut and dry. So they would make like a launch party or whatever, but they would not necessarily promote it, especially if you're a smaller author. Obviously for the big authors they go all out, but if if you think that there would be a book tour, things like that, I mean, yeah, maybe you would have to do that on your own and organize this on your own. So there would be a lot of things that you would be expected to do, because again, I was imagining that, I would just be, they would organize everything and I would just show up and, dazzle everyone with my amazing, speaking skills. However, that's not how that works. And yeah, there is a lot of self-promotion that would have to go, and which is part of the reason why agents are looking for people that have an audience already established, which it's kind of a requirement for non-fiction writers. For fiction writers, it's kind of 50-50. Still good if you have it, not necessary, which again, the glimmer of hope still lives, that I don't need that big of an audience, because yeah, it will take some time. I will get there hopefully someday, but yeah. Until that time, let me tell you about the self-publishing side of things, because it's much easier. I mean, you literally just need to upload your book to Amazon and that's it, and add some tags to it. So whatever you wrote, you just go and you do it. And honestly, in case you do want to make an actual living off of writing, there is a really big case to be made about self-publishing, because publishers take a lot of money. They take, I think, you make like, what was it, like 5%? No, 5% is even maybe high. Okay, I don't remember the exact percentage, but you make such a minuscule amount of money off of each book that's being sold, because there's just so much cost that goes into production. So publishing it, like the physical act of publishing your book, and then distribution, all the marketing things and all of those, etc., etc. Just so much money goes into that you end up with just a very tiny percentage of royalties of what of the end price of the book. Let's say your book is $25, at best you will receive $1 off of it. So okay, maybe at best is putting it too much, but yeah, this is subject to change. Let me give this disclaimer. But yes, so that is, and with self-publishing, Amazon has this kind of nice, I would say, strategy that, where they have, so for example, if your book is between $0 and $1, or 99 cents rather, they get a lot. Like they get, what was it? Okay, I forget the exact percentages, but they get a lot, like a really big percentage of the money. However, if you put your book between, what was it, like $2.99 and $9.99, then you get, I think like 70% of royalties go, they go for you. And if you put, the price higher, then again, Amazon takes a big percentage. So they incentivize you to keep your book, the price lower. But not super low, but also not super high. So I guess in a way, that's good for us, authors that want to just publish a book and maybe not necessarily have it printed, but just have it on Kindle. And there are, programs that you can use where you can just format your book so that it fits the Kindle standard. I mean, you can do that before. It's good to do that beforehand. So when you upload it, it can actually look good and it can look readable. I did a whole course about this a while ago, and it's actually rather interesting. The main reason why I chose not to go through this route, however, it's still an option, of course. But for the time being, I don't want to go down that path, only because the barrier to entry is so low. Like pretty much anyone can just upload the book, right? Anyone can just type away and publish, and that's it. And in case you want to be taken seriously by the industry, that's not the greatest of looks, right? It's not super amazing to see that, yeah, I sold 100 books by myself on Kindle. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, there's something to be said also about the quality. I mean, I'm not saying that the quality of books that are being self-published is bad or anything. It's just, if you're a first-time author, maybe you don't necessarily know exactly what how to make how to make your book the best it can be, especially with fiction writing. So yeah, so that was my reason for choosing to go the traditional route versus the self-publishing one. However, honestly, I have another idea for my next challenge, and just putting myself out there and trying to be more how should I say this, just more comfortable with putting my work out there and putting myself out there. So I will update you about what the project that I want to work on next. However, it will be related to self-publishing, and I do want to know more about it because I did write a book. So a few years ago, I wrote a book about project management because that was my expertise at the time. So I just wrote a book about it. I never actually self-published it because I didn't know that much about editing. Like, I remember that I wrote it, I reread it, I thought, oh, that's it sounds pretty good, and I did send it to a publisher, who does these kinds of things where they just publish, they publish on Kindle and then they just do the marketing for you, which I thought was amazing. They got back to me saying, yeah, that's not really our thing. So I thought, well, okay, maybe I can publish myself. But then, like, the thing about self-publishing also is that you need to be really how should I say, in tune with the whole writing community. You need to know all about it. You need to promote and self-promote a lot. You need to do all sorts of marketing things, which at this point, I don't know if I'm ready to do that in particular. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, okay, I've been rambling on for quite a while. In case anyone is still here, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that this brought a little bit of clarity about self-publishing versus traditional publishing, and I hope that maybe it helped you make the choice a little bit easier. So in case that happened, please leave me a comment. Also subscribe and like, because that helps my tiny little channel hopefully grow in the future. Yay! So yes, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Bye!